The sting of fresh tears blurred Zara Mitchell's vision as Sheriff Talbot locked the iron manacle around her slender wrist, chaining her to the jailhouse wall like a common criminal. Her crime: refusing to marry Maxwell Caldwell, the wealthiest man in Redemption Springs, Colorado Territory, 1875. "Please," Zara pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've done nothing wrong." Sheriff Talbot adjusted his hat, avoiding her gaze. "Town council's orders, Miss Mitchell. Mr. Caldwell is a powerful man, says you agreed to marry him then changed your mind. That's breach of promise in these parts." "That's a lie." Zara pulled against the chain, wincing as the metal bit into her skin. "I never agreed to anything. He simply decided I would be his wife and wouldn't take no for an answer." The sheriff sighed heavily. "Not my place to judge, miss." "You'll stay here until the council meeting tomorrow. They'll decide what's to be done with you." As the door closed behind him, Zara slumped against the rough wooden wall. At 22, she'd worked hard to maintain her independence after her father's death last winter. The small dressmaking shop she'd opened had begun to flourish, giving her hope for a future of her own making. Then Maxwell Caldwell had set his sights on her, and everything had changed. Outside the small barred window, she could see townsfolk going about their business, pretending not to notice the jailhouse or its occupant. No one would stand against Caldwell, not when he owned the bank and half the businesses in town. Tomorrow she would face the council, and she knew with sickening certainty what their verdict would be. Marry Caldwell or face ruin. Night fell, bringing with it a chill that seeped through the thin walls. Zara huddled in the corner, her gray dress offering little warmth, when she heard a soft scratching at the window. Looking up, she gasped at the sight of a man's silhouette. "Miss Mitchell?" The voice was low with a slight drawl. "Who's there?" Zara rose to her feet, the chain rattling. "Name's Wade Blackwood. I'm here to help you if you'll let me." Zara approached the window cautiously. In the moonlight, she could make out a strong jawline beneath the brim of a cowboy hat. "How do you propose to help me, Mr. Blackwood? I can get you out of here, take you someplace safe. But we need to move quickly." "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." His eyes, the color of a summer sky, met hers. "I know enough. I know Caldwell is a snake who thinks he can own people, and I know no woman deserves to be locked up for saying no." Hope flickered in Zara's chest, but caution tempered it. "If I go with you, where would we go?" "My ranch, about a day's ride from here. You'd be safe there until we figure something more permanent. But I'm giving you a choice, Miss Mitchell. Stay and face the council or come with me." "Your decision." Zara glanced around the small cell, thinking of what awaited her tomorrow: a forced marriage to a man who viewed her as property, or escape with a stranger who might be dangerous in his own way. "How would you even get me out? I'm chained to the wall." Wade held up a ring of keys. "Deputy Simmons has a fondness for whiskey and cards. He's sleeping it off behind the saloon." Zara's heart pounded. "If I go with you, I want your word that you'll respect my wishes, that you won't." "You have my word, Miss Mitchell. I'm offering freedom, not another cage." He paused. "But we need to decide now." In that moment, Zara made her choice. "Get me out of here, Mr. Blackwood." Wade unlocked the window from the outside, widening the opening by removing the loose bars. He then reached through, unlocking the manacle around her wrist. Zara rubbed the reddened skin as he helped her climb through the window. Outside, 2 horses waited, saddled and ready. "Can you ride?" Wade asked, helping her onto a chestnut mare. "My father taught me," Zara replied, gathering the reins. Her heart raced with fear and exhilaration as they rode quietly through the sleeping town, past her little shop where she'd sewn dreams along with dresses, past the church where she'd sung hymns every Sunday, past the life she'd known. Only when the lights of Redemption Springs disappeared behind them did Wade speak again. "We'll ride through the night. Put as much distance between us and Caldwell as possible." The night air was cool against Zara's face as they rode across the open plains. Stars blanketed the sky, offering just enough light to see the path ahead. Wade rode slightly ahead, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the night sky. Zara studied him, this man who'd risked himself for a woman he didn't know. "Mr. Blackwood," she called softly, "why did you really help me?" He slowed his horse to ride beside her. "I was in town delivering cattle when I heard what happened, couldn't stomach it." He paused. My sister faced something similar a few years back. No one helped her. What happened to her? His jaw tightened. She married the man. He broke her spirit before he broke her body. She didn't survive the winter. Zara's throat tightened. I'm sorry. So am I. Swore I'd never stand by again if I saw the same happening to another woman. They rode in silence for a while, the rhythmic sound of hoofbeats punctuating the night. What will happen when they discover I'm gone? Zara finally asked. Caldwell will send men after you. That's why we're not taking the main trails. Dawn was breaking when they reached a small creek. Wade dismounted, helping Zara down from her horse. Her legs trembled from the long ride. We'll rest here for an hour, he said, leading the horses to water. Eat something, then push on to the ranch. Zara splashed cold water on her face, trying to process everything that had happened. In the space of a day, she'd become a fugitive, fleeing with a man she barely knew to a destination unknown. Wade offered her jerky and hardtack from his saddlebag. Not much of a breakfast for a lady. Better than a wedding breakfast with Maxwell Caldwell, she replied, accepting the food gratefully, his lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. You're a brave woman, Miss Mitchell. Zara, she said. If we're running from the law together, you might as well use my given name. Zara, he repeated, the name sounding different in his deep voice. Rest while you can. We've still got a long ride ahead. The sun was high when they reached the Blackwood Ranch, a modest spread nestled against rolling hills. A two-story house stood surrounded by cottonwood trees, with a barn and several outbuildings nearby. As they approached, a ranch hand spotted them and called out. Boss, wasn't expecting you back so soon. Wade dismounted, helping Zara down. Her entire body ached from the long ride. Thomas, this is Miss Mitchell. She'll be staying with us for a while. Thomas, a weathered man in his 50s, tipped his hat to Zara. Madam, Thomas, get word to the men. We might have visitors from Redemption Springs. They won't be welcome. The older man nodded, understanding the unspoken message. I'll spread the word, boss. Wade led Zara toward the house. It's not much, but it's safe. The interior was simple but comfortable, polished wooden floors, sturdy furniture, and clean curtains at the windows. A woman emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. She was about Zara's age, with dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. Wade, you're back early. She stopped, noticing Zara. Rose, this is Miss Zara Mitchell. She needs sanctuary. Zara, this is Rose, our housekeeper. Rose's welcoming smile put Zara at ease. Any friend of Wade's is welcome here. You look exhausted, Miss Mitchell. Let me show you to a room where you can rest. Wade nodded. Get her settled, Rose. I need to talk to the men. Rose led Zara upstairs to a small but clean bedroom. The washroom is down the hall. I'll bring up some hot water and find you something to change into. Left alone, Zara sank onto the bed, overwhelmed by the events of the past 24 hours. Through the window, she watched Wade striding toward the bunkhouse, speaking with his men. They were preparing for trouble because of her. Rose returned with hot water and a simple blue dress. It might be a bit large, but it's clean. Thank you. You're very kind to a stranger. Rose smiled. Wade wouldn't have brought you here if you weren't in real trouble. He's a good judge of character. How long have you worked for him? 3 years. He took me in when no one else would. She hesitated. I was in a difficult situation. Wade gave me a job, a home, and never asked for anything in return. After Rose left, Zara washed away the dust of the journey and changed into the borrowed dress. Though exhausted, her mind wouldn't quiet. She went to the window, watching the ranch at work, men moving cattle in the distance, smoke rising from the bunkhouse chimney, a peaceful scene that belied the danger approaching. A knock at the door startled her. Wade stood there, hat in hand. Feeling better? Yes, thank you. Your home is lovely. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, fair and square. He seemed uncomfortable in the small room. I've posted men to watch the trails. If Caldwell sends anyone, we'll have warning. I've brought danger to your door. I'm sorry for that. No need for apologies. I made my choice. He met her gaze directly. I meant what I said about giving you choices, Zara. You can stay here as long as you need, or if you prefer, I can arrange passage to Denver when it's safe. You'd find work there with your sewing skills. Zara was touched by his consideration. I don't know what I want yet, except to be free of Maxwell Caldwell. That's fair enough. For now, rest. We'll talk more at supper. After he left, Zara lay down, finally allowing exhaustion to claim her. She dreamed of being chased, of iron chains and Maxwell Caldwell's cold eyes before falling into deeper sleep. When she woke, the sun was setting. She made her way downstairs, following the smell of cooking. In the kitchen, Rose was preparing a meal while Wade sat at the table, cleaning a revolver. "Ah, you're awake," Rose smiled, just in time for supper. Wade quickly put the gun away, feeling rested. "Yes, thank you. Can I help with anything, Rose? Just sit. Everything's nearly ready." The meal was simple but delicious: roast beef, potatoes, and fresh bread. As they ate, Wade explained more about the ranch. "My father started with nothing but 100 acres and 10 head of cattle, built it up to what you see now. When he passed 5 years ago, I took over." "It's impressive," Zara said sincerely. "You've clearly worked hard." "Hard work I don't mind. It's the politics of the cattle business I could do without." He took a sip of coffee. "Now, tell me about your dressmaking shop," Zara brightened, describing her small business with pride. "I learned sewing from my mother. After she passed, it became my connection to her. When father died last year, I used what little savings we had to open the shop." "And that's when Caldwell noticed you," her expression darkened. "He came in to order shirts for himself, then kept coming back, said a woman like me shouldn't be working, that I needed a husband to provide for me." She set down her fork. "I refused him politely at first. When he wouldn't listen, I became more direct. That's when he went to the town council." Wade's jaw tightened. "Men like Caldwell think money gives them the right to take whatever they want. The worst part is, the town supported him. People I've known my whole life stood by while I was locked up." Rose reached over to squeeze her hand. "People are afraid to stand against power." "Not everyone," Zara said softly, looking at Wade. After supper, Wade invited Zara to sit on the porch. The night was clear, with a chorus of crickets providing a gentle backdrop to their conversation. "What will you do now?" Wade asked. Zara watched the stars appearing one by one. "I don't know. I can't go back to Redemption Springs." "No, you can't. Caldwell isn't the type to forgive being crossed. I had built something there. It wasn't much, but it was mine." She fought back tears. "Now I have nothing." "Not nothing," Wade said quietly. "You have your freedom, your dignity, your skill with a needle. That's more than many have." They sat in companionable silence, the night air cooling around them. "Mr. Blackwood, Wade," he corrected. "If I'm calling you Zara, seems fair you'd call me Wade." "Wade," she amended with a small smile. "Thank you, not just for the rescue, but for giving me a choice. That's something I haven't had much of lately. Everyone deserves choices, Zara, even when they're hard ones." The next morning, Zara woke to the sounds of the ranch coming to life. After dressing in the borrowed clothes, she made her way downstairs, finding Rose kneading dough. "Good morning." "Sleep well?" Rose greeted her. "Better than I expected. Can I help?" "You could gather eggs from the henhouse if you don't mind. Wade's already out checking the herd." The simple task gave Zara a sense of normalcy. As she collected warm eggs in her apron, she noticed the beauty of the ranch in morning light, dew glistening on grass, distant mountains outlined against the blue sky. For the first time since her ordeal began, she felt a moment of peace. That peace was shattered when she returned to the house and found Wade in intense conversation with Thomas. Both men looked grim. "What is it?" she asked, setting the eggs on the kitchen table. Wade hesitated. "Riders coming, 6 of them, from the direction of Redemption Springs." Fear gripped Zara's heart. Caldwell's men, most likely. Thomas recognized Jenkins, Caldwell's foreman. Wade's expression was resolute. "They won't take you, Zara. I won't let that happen. I don't want anyone hurt because of me. We'll try talking first." He checked his revolver. "But you should stay inside, out of sight." From the parlor window, Zara watched 6 riders approach the ranch house. 5 rough-looking men led by Samuel Jenkins, Maxwell Caldwell's right-hand man. Wade and 4 of his ranch hands waited on the porch, rifles visible but not aimed. Blackwood. Jenkins called out, "We've come for the Mitchell woman. Hand her over and there won't be trouble." Wade stepped forward. "She's not property to be handed over, Jenkins. She's under my protection." "You're harboring a criminal. She's to stand trial for breach of promise." "There's no breach when there was no promise," Wade replied evenly. Miss Mitchell said no, that's her right. Jenkins sneered. Mr. Caldwell says different, and his word carries weight with the law. Not on my land it doesn't. The tension was palpable as both sides measured each other. Zara's hands trembled as she watched, knowing that men might die because of her. Don't be a fool, Blackwood, Jenkins warned. This isn't your fight. I'm making it my fight, Wade replied, his voice hard. Now turn around and tell Caldwell that Miss Mitchell is no longer available for his consideration. Jenkins's face darkened. You'll regret crossing Mr. Caldwell. He glanced at his men. We'll be back, and not for talking. As the riders departed, Zara rushed onto the porch. They'll come back with more men, Wade nodded grimly. I know, we need to prepare. The next days passed in tense anticipation. Wade sent for additional supplies from a neighboring ranch and positioned men at strategic points around the property. Zara tried to make herself useful, helping Rose with cooking and mending clothes for the ranch hands. On the third night, she found Wade on the porch, staring into the darkness. You should get some rest, she said softly. He shook his head. Too restless, Zara sat beside him. Why are you doing this, Wade? Really? You're risking everything for someone you barely know. In the moonlight, his profile was strong and determined. I told you about my sister, but there's more to it. He took a deep breath. I was away when Martha needed me, working a cattle drive. By the time I got back, she was already married to that bastard. I should have been there to protect her. It wasn't your fault. Maybe not, but I won't fail you the way I failed her. He turned to face her. Besides, I've gotten to know you these past days. You're worth fighting for, Zara Mitchell. Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition, a possibility. Zara felt her heart quicken as Wade's gaze lingered on her face. The moment was broken by the sound of a horse approaching at speed. One of Wade's men, returning from patrol. Riders coming, boss, at least 15 men armed. Wade was instantly alert. Get inside, Zara. Rose will take you to the root cellar. I won't hide while you fight my battle. This isn't open for discussion. His voice softened. Please, Zara, I need to know you're safe. Reluctantly, she followed Rose to the kitchen where a trapdoor led to a small cellar. Stay here until Wade comes for you, Rose instructed, handing her a lantern. Rose, be careful, Zara pleaded. Don't worry about me. I know how to handle a shotgun. Alone in the cellar, Zara could hear muffled voices above, then the unmistakable sound of gunfire. She pressed her hands to her mouth, stifling a cry. Men were dying because of her. The gunfire continued, sporadic bursts followed by shouts. Then a crash as something or someone fell heavily above her. Zara extinguished the lantern, heart pounding in the darkness. The trapdoor flew open. A beam of light blinded her. Well, look what we found. It was Jenkins, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Zara backed away. Where's Wade? Blackwood. He's a bit occupied at the moment. Jenkins reached down, grabbing her arm roughly. Mr. Caldwell's waiting, Miss Mitchell. Time to go home. He dragged her up the stairs into the kitchen. The scene was chaos, furniture overturned, glass shattered. Through the window, she could see men fighting in the yard. Rose lay unconscious near the stove, a trickle of blood on her temple. Rose, Zara tried to go to her, but Jenkins yanked her toward the door. She's lucky. Could have been worse. Outside, the fighting continued. Caldwell's men outnumbered Wade's, but the ranch hands were holding their ground. Then Zara saw him, Wade, engaged in a brutal fistfight with two attackers. Wade, she screamed. He looked up at her voice, distracted for a crucial moment. One of his attackers seized the opportunity, striking him hard across the temple with a pistol butt. Wade crumpled to the ground. No, Zara fought against Jenkins's grip. Let me go to him. Not happening, Miss Mitchell. You've caused enough trouble. He whistled sharply. We got her. Fall back. Caldwell's men began retreating, dragging Zara toward the horses. She fought wildly, kicking and screaming, but Jenkins was too strong. As they rode away, she looked back at the ranch, Wade's men regrouping, some tending to the wounded, the house she'd briefly called home growing smaller in the distance. They rode through the night, stopping only to rest the horses. By dawn, the familiar outline of Redemption Springs appeared on the horizon. Zara sat stiffly on the horse, her wrists bound, her spirit near breaking. Jenkins led her directly to Caldwell's mansion on the hill overlooking the town. The grandest house in Redemption Springs, It represented everything Zara despised: wealth built on intimidation and control. Maxwell Caldwell waited on the veranda, impeccably dressed as always. At 45, his hair was still dark, his bearing imperious. "Miss Mitchell, welcome back." "This isn't a homecoming, Mr. Caldwell, it's a kidnapping." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Such dramatic language. I've simply reclaimed my fiancé." "I was never your fiancé. I never agreed to marry you. Yet here you are." He dismissed Jenkins with a nod. "Clean her up." "The wedding will be tomorrow." A maid led Zara to an opulent bedroom where a bath was drawn. "Mr. Caldwell requests you make yourself presentable, miss," the woman said timidly. Alone, Zara sank onto the bed, despair washing over her. Wade might be dead. She was back in Caldwell's clutches. All seemed lost, then her gaze fell on the window. 3 stories up, but with a trellis running alongside. A desperate plan began forming in her mind. That night, after the household was asleep, Zara tied bedsheets together, securing one end to the heavy bedpost. She changed back into her borrowed dress, refusing to wear the fine clothes Caldwell had provided. Quietly opening the window, she looked down at the dark garden below. The climb down was terrifying, the sheets swaying in the night breeze. Halfway down, she heard a ripping sound, the sheets beginning to tear. She scrambled faster, dropping the last few feet to land hard on the ground, twisting her ankle. Ignoring the pain, she limped through the garden toward the road. If she could reach town, perhaps someone would help her, though she knew the chances were slim. Caldwell's influence was too strong. She had just reached the road when she heard hoofbeats approaching. Ducking behind a tree, she held her breath as the rider came into view. It was Wade. Zara stepped into the moonlight. "Wade," he reined his horse sharply, disbelief crossing his face. "Zara, is that really you?" "Yes." "Oh, Wade, I thought you were dead." She limped toward him, tears of relief streaming down her face. He dismounted quickly, crossing to her in long strides. Without hesitation, he wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "I thought I'd lost you," he murmured against her hair. Zara clung to him, feeling safe for the first time since being taken. "How did you find me?" "Followed their trail. Wasn't hard. Jenkins isn't exactly careful." He pulled back, examining her face. "Are you hurt?" "Just my ankle. I climbed out the window." Wade's expression darkened. "I should have protected you better." "You did everything you could." She touched his face gently, noting the bruise at his temple. "You're hurt." "Nothing serious." He glanced toward Caldwell's mansion. "We need to move. Can you ride?" "Yes." Wade helped her onto his horse, then mounted behind her. His arms encircled her as he took the reins, his chest solid against her back. They rode away from Redemption Springs, taking a different route than before. "Where are we going?" Zara asked. "Somewhere Caldwell won't think to look. My friend William has a cabin in the mountains. We'll be safe there until we figure out our next move." They rode through the night, the terrain growing steeper as they entered the foothills. Zara leaned back against Wade, drawing strength from his presence. Despite the danger, she felt a sense of rightness being with him. By dawn, they reached a small cabin nestled in a grove of pine trees. It was simple but sturdy, with a stone chimney and a small corral for horses. "It's not much," Wade said as he helped her down, "but it's secluded." Inside, the cabin was clean and well-maintained, with a main room containing a table, chairs, and a stone fireplace, plus a small bedroom. Wade quickly built a fire to ward off the mountain chill. "You should rest," he said, gesturing to the bedroom. "I'll keep watch." "Wade, you need rest too. You've been riding all night." "I'm fine." But the fatigue in his eyes belied his words. "At least sit," she insisted, guiding him to a chair by the fire. She found bandages in a cupboard and gently cleaned the cut on his temple. His eyes never left her face as she worked. "I thought I'd failed you," he said quietly. "When I saw Jenkins taking you away." "You didn't fail me, Wade. You came for me." She finished bandaging his wound but didn't move away. "No one's ever fought for me the way you have." His hand came up to cup her cheek. "I'd do it again in a heartbeat." The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken feelings. Then Wade cleared his throat, standing abruptly. "You should get some sleep. We're safe for now, but we'll need to move on soon." Disappointed but understanding, Zara nodded. "Wake me in a few hours. You need rest too." In the small bedroom, Zara lay on the narrow bed, listening to Wade moving around in the main room. Despite the danger still hanging over them, she felt a strange contentment. She was with Wade, and somehow that made everything feel possible. She woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of voices. Emerging from the bedroom, she found Wade talking with a tall, bearded man. "Zara, this is William Carter, my oldest friend and the owner of this fine establishment. Will, Miss Zara Mitchell." William tipped his hat. "Madam, Wade's been telling me about your situation." "I hope we're not imposing," Zara said. "Not at all. Any friend of Wade's is welcome here." He set down a bundle. "Brought some supplies, including something that might fit you better than that dress." The bundle contained a simple skirt and blouse plus basic necessities. "Thank you, Mr. Carter. Just Will, please. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to town before anyone notices I'm gone." He turned to Wade. "Remember what I said. Caldwell's offering a reward for both of you now, $500. After Will left, Wade poured Zara coffee. "He's going to send word to the ranch that we're safe. Also brought news. Caldwell's telling everyone you're deranged, that I manipulated you into running away." "That's absurd." "It's effective. The town believes it or pretends to." He sat across from her. "Will thinks our best option is to leave the territory, head to California maybe. Start fresh where Caldwell has no influence." Zara considered this. "Leave everything behind. My whole life has been in Colorado." "What life would you have here now? Caldwell won't stop hunting you, us." She knew he was right. "What about your ranch? Thomas can run it." "He's been with my family for 20 years. Wade hesitated. "Unless you don't want to come with me." "Of course I want to come with you." The words came without thought, but as soon as she said them, Zara knew they were true. "I just hate that you're losing everything because of me." "I'm not losing everything." His eyes held hers. "Some things are worth more than land and cattle, Zara." Her heart fluttered at his words. "When would we leave?" "Tomorrow. Will's arranging transportation. We'll take the train from Silverton, then connect to the Western Line." That night, they sat by the fire planning their journey. California seemed like a dream, a place of new beginnings, far from Maxwell Caldwell's reach. "What will you do there?" Wade asked. "Open another dress shop, I suppose. San Francisco is growing rapidly. They'll need dressmakers." She smiled. "What about you? Will you miss ranching?" "I can ranch anywhere there's land. California has plenty of that." He prodded the fire. "We could pool our resources, start something together." The suggestion hung in the air between them, not quite a proposal, but something close to it. "I'd like that," Zara said softly. Wade looked up, his expression vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen before. "Zara, I know this has all happened so fast. We barely knew each other a week ago." But a sound outside interrupted him, the crack of a twig. Wade was instantly alert, reaching for his revolver. "Stay here," he whispered, moving to the window. Peering through the curtain, he cursed under his breath. "Riders, at least 3. Fear gripped Zara. "Caldwell's men? Probably. They must have followed Will." He quickly doused the lantern, plunging the cabin into darkness except for the fire's glow. "There's a trapdoor under the rug in the bedroom. Root cellar, hide there." "Not again, Wade. I won't hide while you face danger alone." "Zara, please, no, we face this together." She picked up the shotgun, leaning by the door. "My father taught me to shoot too." A grudging respect crossed Wade's face. "All right, but stay back from the windows." They positioned themselves on either side of the front door, waiting in tense silence. Footsteps approached the cabin, then a voice called out. "Blackwood, we know you're in there. Send out the woman and you might live through this." "That's Jenkins," Zara whispered. Wade's expression hardened. "How many men, Jenkins?" he called back. "Enough. Caldwell's doubled the reward." "Dead or alive for you, Blackwood? Just alive for the lady." "Tell Caldwell she's not for sale at any price." Jenkins laughed, an ugly sound. "Have it your way." Gunfire erupted, bullets splintering the wooden walls. Wade returned fire through the window while Zara watched the back door. When a shadow appeared there, she fired the shotgun, earning a yelp of pain. "Good shot," Wade said, impressed. The firefight continued for several minutes, neither side gaining advantage. Then something arced through the window, a flaming torch landing on the cabin floor. "They're trying to burn us out." Zara stomped on the torch, but another followed, then another. Smoke began filling the cabin, the root cellar, Wade coughed. "It has an outlet that leads to the stream. We can escape that way." They retreated to the bedroom, Wade moving the rug to reveal the trapdoor. As they descended into the dank cellar, the sound of flames consuming the cabin grew louder. "This way." Wade took her hand, leading her through narrow earthen walls. The passage was tight, forcing them to crawl in places. Behind them, smoke billowed into the cellar. Finally, they emerged near a small stream, gasping for fresh air. Through the trees, they could see the cabin engulfed in flames, Jenkins and his men surrounding it. "They think we're still inside," Wade whispered. "Our chance to escape." Hand in hand, they moved quietly through the forest, paralleling the stream to mask their tracks. The glow of the burning cabin receded behind them as they climbed higher into the mountains. Dawn found them exhausted but alive, having put several miles between themselves and their pursuers. They rested in a small clearing, Wade keeping watch while Zara slept briefly. When she woke, he had built a small, smokeless fire. "Will's cabin?" she asked. Wade's expression was grim. "Gone along with everything we had." "I'm sorry. Don't be, we're alive, that's what matters." He offered her water from a canteen he'd managed to grab before fleeing. "We need to keep moving. Silverton is about 15 miles northwest. If we can reach it by nightfall, we might still catch tomorrow's train." The journey was arduous, the mountain terrain challenging even for experienced riders, let alone on foot. Zara's ankle throbbed, but she pushed through the pain, determined not to slow them down. By midday, they reached a vantage point overlooking the valley. "Look," Wade pointed to a thin plume of smoke in the distance. "That's Will's ranch. If we can reach it, he'll help us get to Silverton." It was near sunset when they arrived at the small homestead. Will rushed out to meet them, relief evident on his face. "Thank God." "When I heard about the cabin, I feared the worst." Inside his modest home, they recounted their escape while Will's wife, Martha, tended to Zara's ankle and provided fresh clothes. Jenkins and his men returned to town this morning, Will informed them. "They're claiming they killed you both in the fire." "Let them think that," Wade said. "It gives us time to get away," Will nodded. "I'll drive you to Silverton tonight. The train leaves at noon tomorrow." That night, as they prepared to leave, Zara found herself alone with Wade on Will's porch. The stars were brilliant overhead, the mountain air crisp and clean. "I never thought I'd be glad to be presumed dead," she said with a small smile. Wade chuckled. "It does simplify things. What happens now, to us I mean?" She looked up at him, heart pounding with the boldness of her question. Wade's expression grew serious. "That depends on you, Zara. I know what I want." "What do you want?" He took her hands in his. "I want to build a life with you, in California or anywhere else." "I know it's fast, and maybe I'm a fool for saying it, but I think I started falling in love with you the moment I saw you through that jailhouse window." Joy bloomed in Zara's chest. "I think I started falling in love with you when you offered me a choice. No one had done that before." Wade stepped closer, one hand gently cupping her face. "I'm offering you another choice now. Stay with me, build a life with me, or go your own way in California. Whatever you choose, I'll respect it." Zara's answer was to rise on tiptoes, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, then deepened as Wade's arms encircled her waist, drawing her closer. When they finally parted, both were breathless. "I choose you, Wade Blackwood. I choose us." His smile was radiant in the moonlight. "Then let's go start our life, Zara Mitchell." Will drove them to Silverton that night, the journey passing in comfortable silence, Zara nestled against Wade's side. At the small train station, Will handed them tickets and a bundle of supplies. "Train leaves at noon. It'll take you to Denver, then you can connect to the Western line." He pressed money into Wade's hand. "To get you started." "I'll pay you back," Wade promised. "No need. Consider it an investment in your future," Will grinned. "Just name your first son after me." They spent the night in a small hotel near the station, taking separate rooms to maintain propriety. In the morning, they met for breakfast, both nervous and excited about the journey ahead. "I sent a telegram to Thomas," Wade said. "Told him to run the ranch until I return or send for him. You think we might come back someday? Maybe, when Caldwell is no longer a threat." He covered her hand with his. "But for now, our future is westward." The train arrived precisely at noon, a gleaming iron beast that would carry them to their new life. As they settled into their seats, the whistle blew and the train lurched forward. Zara looked back at the mountains she'd called home all her life, a bittersweet feeling washing over her. "I never thought I'd leave Colorado," Are you having regrets? She turned to Wade, finding certainty in his blue eyes. No, home isn't a place, it's where you belong. She squeezed his hand. And I belong with you. The journey to California took over a week, with changes in Denver and again in Salt Lake City. They traveled as Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood, a fiction that simplified their accommodations and avoided unwanted questions. Though they maintained separate sleeping arrangements, they spent every waking moment together, learning each other's stories, hopes, and dreams. In Denver, Wade purchased a simple gold ring for Zara's finger, making their pretense more convincing. Just temporary, he assured her. Until I can offer you a proper wedding. But Zara found herself constantly touching the ring, already thinking of it as real. By the time they reached California, the pretense had become a promise. San Francisco in 1875 was a city of contradictions, elegant mansions on Nob Hill overlooking crowded immigrant neighborhoods, sophisticated opera houses alongside raucous saloons. It was nothing like Redemption Springs, and that was precisely what they needed. They found lodging in a respectable boarding house run by a widow named Mrs. Chen, who asked few questions and appreciated Zara's offer to help with mending. Within days, Wade found work at a livery stable while investigating ranch land outside the city. Zara, meanwhile, secured a position at a dressmaker's shop on Market Street. Her skill with a needle quickly impressed the owner, Mrs. Abernathy, who gave her increasing responsibility. You have real talent, the older woman told her after Zara redesigned a wedding gown for an important client. Have you considered opening your own shop again? Someday, Zara replied. Once we're more established. Each evening, Wade would meet her after work and they would walk the busy streets marveling at their new home. On Sundays, they explored the city visiting Golden Gate Park, watching ships enter the bay, planning their future. 2 months after their arrival, Wade took Zara to a small restaurant overlooking the water. I have news, he said after they'd ordered. I've found land. 40 acres in Sonoma County, about 50 miles north. Good pasture, a small house, affordable price. Zara's eyes widened. You're buying it? We're buying it, if you want to. He reached across the table for her hand. It's a good place to start a ranch. And there's a growing town nearby where you could open a dress shop. Or, he hesitated, you could stay in the city if you prefer. I know you like it here. I like being with you more. She squeezed his hand. Show me this land of ours. The following weekend, they took the ferry across the bay, then hired a wagon to reach the property. As they crested a hill, Zara gasped at the view: rolling pastures dotted with oak trees, a creek winding through the valley, and in the distance, the silhouette of mountains. It's beautiful, she whispered. The house was small but solid, with a wide porch and a garden gone wild with neglect. Inside were 4 rooms, a main living area, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. It needs work, Wade acknowledged, but it has good bones. Zara walked through the rooms, already imagining curtains at the windows, a rug before the fireplace, the smell of bread baking in the kitchen. It's perfect. Wade watched her, an expression of pure happiness on his face. Then it's settled. I'll finalize the purchase tomorrow. That night, camping on their future property beneath a canopy of stars, Wade properly proposed. On one knee, holding out a new ring, this one with a small diamond, he asked Zara to be his wife. I've been wearing your ring for months, she said, tears of joy in her eyes. But yes, Wade Blackwood, I will marry you, for real and forever. They were married 2 weeks later in a small church in San Francisco, with Mrs. Chen and Mrs. Abernathy as witnesses. Zara wore a dress she'd made herself, simple but elegant, with lace she'd saved from her mother's wedding gown, the only keepsake she'd brought from Colorado. That night, in the privacy of the small hotel room Wade had splurged on, they became truly husband and wife. Their lovemaking was tender and passionate, the culmination of feelings that had grown steadily since that first night at the jailhouse window. I love you, Mrs. Blackwood, Wade whispered as they lay entwined, and I love you, Mr. Blackwood. Zara nestled against his chest, feeling complete for the first time in her life. They moved to their Sonoma property the following week, bringing the few possessions they'd acquired in San Francisco. The work was hard, repairing the house, clearing fields, purchasing cattle and horses, but they tackled it together. 6 months later, they received a letter from Thomas. Maxwell Caldwell had suffered financial ruin when his questionable banking practices were exposed. He'd fled Redemption Springs, his reputation in tatters. "Justice," Wade said, reading the letter aloud on their porch, "and freedom, we can go back now if you want." Zara looked out at their land, the garden now flourishing, the small herd of cattle grazing peacefully, the life they were building. "This is home now, but perhaps we could visit someday." As their first year in California drew to a close, Zara had news of her own to share. On Christmas morning, she presented Wade with a tiny pair of knitted booties. His face registered confusion, then dawning understanding. "Zara, are you?" "Yes," she smiled, placing his hand on her still flat stomach. "Our family is growing." Wade's joy was boundless. He lifted her in his arms, spinning her around the Christmas-decorated living room. "A baby, our baby." The following summer, Zara gave birth to a son they named William Thomas Blackwood, honoring both their friend and Wade's loyal foreman. Will, as they called him, had his father's blue eyes and his mother's determined spirit. By the time Will was 3, the Blackwood Ranch had prospered, expanding to over 100 acres. Zara had opened a small dressmaking business in the nearby town, working 2 days a week while a neighbor's daughter watched Will. That spring, they received unexpected visitors, Rose and Thomas from the Colorado ranch. They brought news that Wade's property there had increased in value due to a railroad expansion. "You're a wealthy man now, boss," Thomas informed him, "if you want to sell." Wade looked at Zara, who was holding their son on her hip. "What do you think?" "I think we could use the money to expand here," she replied. "Build that bigger house you've been dreaming of. And hire Thomas and Rose to help run things," Wade added, grinning at their old friends. 5 years after fleeing Colorado as fugitives, the Blackwoods were firmly established in California. Their ranch now employed several hands, their house had doubled in size, and Zara's dress shop in town had a reputation for the finest work in the county. On the anniversary of their wedding, Wade surprised Zara with a trip back to Colorado. "Time to face the past," he said. "On our terms." Redemption Springs had changed, grown larger, more prosperous. The railroad had brought new businesses and residents. As they walked the main street, few recognized them. Those who did nodded respectfully, the past forgotten or forgiven. Zara insisted on visiting her father's grave, placing wildflowers on the simple marker. "I wish he could have met you and Will," she told Wade. "He would have loved you both." "He raised an extraordinary daughter," Wade replied, his arm around her shoulders. "That's enough for me to know he was a good man." Their last stop was the site of Zara's old dress shop. A bakery stood there now, the aroma of fresh bread filling the air. "Do you miss it?" Wade asked. "Your life here," Zara shook her head. "I miss who I was becoming, but I love who I am now with you," she smiled up at him. "If I hadn't said no to Maxwell Caldwell, if you hadn't rescued me from that jail cell, we wouldn't have our life together." "Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the greatest happiness," Wade said, kissing her softly. Their California ranch continued to thrive. Will grew into a strong, kind young man with his father's affinity for ranching and his mother's creative spirit. When Zara gave birth to a daughter, Rose, followed by another son, James, their family felt complete. On their 20th wedding anniversary, Wade and Zara sat on the porch of their home, watching the sunset paint the hills gold. Their children were inside, preparing a surprise dinner. "Do you ever wonder what might have happened if I hadn't seen you through that jailhouse window?" Wade asked, his hand entwined with hers. "Sometimes," Zara admitted. "But then I remember something you told me long ago. Everyone deserves choices, even when they're hard ones." "The easiest choice I ever made was loving you," Wade said, his voice still carrying the same tenderness as when they'd first exchanged vows. Zara leaned her head on his shoulder, content in the life they'd built together. From a desperate escape to a lasting love, their journey had been unexpected but perfect in its way. "And the wisest choice I ever made," she replied, "was choosing you." As the sun slipped below the horizon, Wade pulled Zara into a gentle kiss, a promise renewed, a love deepened by years of joy and challenge shared. From the house came the sound of their children's laughter, the future they'd created together unfolding in ways they could never have imagined that night at the jailhouse window when a cowboy offered a trapped woman a choice and changed both their lives forever.